I actually look like a wreck. Let's fix this a bit. What is this, like a 20-second transformation? Can't do anything about the weird skin at the moment. Okay. Hi everyone. Let's just adjust that. So, I haven't been making videos for the main channel for the past week or so. And if I sound a bit different, I'm trying not to strain too much, because the reason I haven't been making videos is because I've been having throat pain. I've been trying to figure out exactly what it is. We're not entirely sure. I'm not going to go into too many details. I have seen a doctor. They couldn't really figure it out, so I've been referred onwards. Naturally, when something like this pops up, it means that I'm not that interested in making content because, well, first and foremost, it becomes painful, it becomes a bit of a strain. And secondly, you just lose your motivation when you're kind of hit with this medical anxiety. This time has been especially depressing, but also it's just been like really warm again. And I've been doing quite a bit of manual labor trying to like pack everything up to move to the new house when it's ready. So yeah, and this video is just kind of a test to see what it would be like, what it would feel like to try and record something again, just to see if I can do it without putting too much strain on it, because I would like to get back to making videos even though things haven't entirely been figured out yet. But hey ho, the first couple of days of like properly tracking this problem, I was still doing a bit of work, so I'm just going to pull something up on the screen and then there we go. I can show you what we've been doing. Also, one thing I set up which I never really got to test properly was I got a new Stream Deck, and I've done a custom setup here where I can like choose different parts of the screen to kind of do auto editing on the fly. So the center point there will be this, so basically seeing the entire screen with my face in it, and then also the icons change as well as they're pressed. Then we can kind of like zoom into different parts of the Blender interface, and my face will change appropriately depending on what part we're looking at. So I think that's kind of cool. Let's reset that. So for this little preview, you might notice that my Blender looks a little bit different, but can you spot why? Well, the obvious thing is going to be the asset browser down here, right? See, we've got a bunch of these white and blue icons here. But one thing you may not notice is that at the top there's a button in the 3D view called Asset Browser. Now I'm just going to close this one. So one thing I kind of hated about, well, my regular startup file, and let me just show you one thing I don't like. I always had the Asset Browser open like this, but for some reason in Blender, when two split interfaces like this reach the bottom of the screen, when you pull them back up, they're connected, which I don't want. Because if I want to pull up like the world nodes, I don't want to pull up the asset browser as well because it messes up with the 3D view. So I always hated that. And I thought, wouldn't it just be nice to have a button in the 3D view which would help me toggle the asset browser? Now actually toggling was a bit of a problem, but the alternative, which I've done by, I'm going to need to move my face now. There we go. That works, yay. Is I put a little button here on the asset browser called Close Asset. So there's a button at the top to open and a button on the browser to close it. And also, if I repeatedly click the asset browser, it's not going to keep opening them. It knows that one's already been opened. And then there's also this parameters button down here. And if I press that, it's going to basically set my asset browser to my preferred asset library. This is actually a bit tricky to set up in Python because like these different parameters for the asset browser aren't really prepared for the API, should I say? Or rather, there's still work to be done with it. So the other thing I was thinking about was there are so many different possible starting points I might like to start from when making stuff with Blender. And like, I was thinking, should I try and put them all into one startup file, but I need to try and find a way to make it not too bulky and bloaty. But the solution I came up with was just using the asset browser because it supports collections now. It didn't from the beginning, but it does after, I can't remember what version it was. So here's the thing, you can see my basic diorama scene here, but let me maybe clear this out a bit. Let's get rid of the lights and the camera as well. So we have absolutely nothing. But if I bring up my end panel there, if I drag the diorama collection in and then set the location to 0, there we go. It's brought in that version of the startup file, as well as all the connected objects with it. Okay, then once it's been imported and then put to the right location, we can press Ctrl A and then make instances real, and they'll basically properly import all of the objects. Now, of course, they'll be out of their own collections, so I might need to reorganize them a bit, but I think it's just a nice way of basically separating the different presets for like all of the possible starting points and then having them there and accessible. I haven't really set up the others yet, but these are custom icons. So I thought that would be like just a nice little way for me to kind of help my own workflow, kind of making it easier to access the asset browser and to bring in extra content. Well, since my throat isn't hurting too much, I might as well do a bit more talking, just to kind of, test the limits, see what happens, and just kind of like try and step back into this video making process a bit slowly and a bit easily. Like I said, we've been doing a lot of packing recently for the new house, and that's involved packing up the old desktops. I didn't quite realize how many computers we had in the house. First of all, there was like my first desktop. You might notice my nails haven't been painted. That's because I saw the doctor today and I thought it'd be a bit weird if I had them painted. Plus sometimes they look at your nails, like, to see if they look healthy, so I decided to take them off just for that. But anyway, yeah, my first desktop computer was an Alienware made by Dell. I think it was £1,502. It was a gift. See, I remember the exact price because like when it's something that special, you remember it. And that desktop, like, it carried me through like so many years. It was fantastic, but I had to gut it out and strip it for parts today. It'd been upgraded in like several different ways over the years, but I think the GPU I ended up with in that was a GeForce GTX 780. And I remember when I got that because I think Saints Row 4 had come out. It was either Saints Row 3 or 4, but I think it was 4. When did that come out? 2013. That was a fun game. And I remember having all sorts of audio problems with the GPU, so I had to make a choice because I didn't really understand the audio drivers that much because I had like an on-board like sound card for the computer, but also, the new GPUs, they had the audio drivers with them. And I was having a lot of trouble with it. I think Realtek was playing up in some weird ways. So I had to make a choice between like having fantastic graphics at the time and having no audio, or having full audio but having really bad graphics. Anyway, I got that sorted out in the end. Then there was an Origin computer. So Origin is, I think, a US PC building company. And people might ask, like, why do I go for PC building companies? Because this one I'm calling Codex, that's a keyword for this one. Or the not keyword, code name for this one. This was a PC specialist computer, not the one that was given in the NVIDIA sponsorship. The reason I go for PC building companies is reason number one, warranty. When your business relies on the computer working, warranty is fantastic because it's warranty on the entire system rather than individual components. So that should be a reason just by itself to go for a PC building company. But obviously I understand why people do custom ones, and I've got a bunch of components lying around and I want to build my own kind of, what's the term I used, Frankenstein machines for some like tests and experiments in the new studio. So there was the Origin computer, which carried me like forward throughout the next years, from like game development onwards through like most of my Blender learning, all of that, and that's somewhere behind you at the moment. That one still needs to be packed. So that's 2 machines. Then my third machine is this one, the workspace one, where most of the work gets done. So that's number 3, and then number 4 is the RenderBeast one. So that's the one that NVIDIA gave during the sponsorship. Then number 5 is my brother's old desktop, because he used to be a desktop gamer to a certain degree, and then he stopped doing that. He doesn't really like playing PC anymore, because he doesn't do a lot of like, technical PC stuff. He likes playing a PlayStation 5, Switch, stuff like that. But he had 2 desktops, right? So he had one, which I'm taking, and then he also had another Origin one as well. So that's 6 desktop PCs. And they're all pretty good, well, relatively good. Now, that original Alienware one, the case was far too heavy to pack, so I stripped it, sucked it for parts, and that means there's 5 remaining. So there are 5 PCs that are going to be ending up in the studio. I'm sure I will Frankenstein probably half of those. Also, my brother wanted to get a new TV. I'm very monitor-y. He's very TV-ish, with all the consoles and stuff. But, he splurges out on nice TVs. In the same way that I splurge out on nice monitors now, although I'm still a little bit frugal with it, but, I like the high refresh rates. He likes to splurge out on TVs. So his previous TV, which he doesn't need anymore, is actually really, really good. So I've got it for a cheaper price. Apparently, like 1 or 2 of the HDMI ports don't really work on it, but like the screen is actually still really, really good, really functional, and it looks great. I tested it. So I've purchased that from him as well. And I'm thinking about maybe having it put on a wall somewhere in the new studio to optionally like track statistics, things like real-time viewers from the YouTube channel, how many purchases, downloads of products, or if that's kind of not something I want to look at the time, I can just flick onto YouTube and just, watch some of my favorite creators, maybe swap it over to like a weather map or the news or something, although the news is pretty anxiety inducing. Cartoons, we'll do cartoons instead. So yeah, and as for a general status about the studio, it took a while to get planning permission approved. It's now approved. Also, I mean, I don't want to give too many specifics, but I imagine there were some people wondering, like, oh, you mentioned it so long ago now, like nearly a year ago, that you're getting this new place and this new studio. Where is it? You said you were going to do breakdown videos. It takes frickin' ages, like getting all the paperwork done, getting everyone on board. When you've got so many different people, we've got someone managing we've got a quantity surveyor, it's called. So they make sure that everything is budgeted properly. They basically manage like the contracts with the builders. So we got them that we're going to be speaking to. We have builders lined up as well. The planning for the house took a long time. This is a family home, by the way, so it's not just my house. I don't have that kind of money. But yeah, the planning took a long time because we have like a team of architects that were helping to kind of plan out the new changes for the house, because it's an older house and needed a lot of renovation. And like the back and forth between that took a long time as well, because they're such a busy architect studio. So it took ages to finally get those design plans through, like the design proposal, and that had to be submitted to the government or the local council, and then they had to approve it. So like all of this takes months and months and months. So yeah, that's why it's taken a while. But it is weird, like speeding up the packing process now, because there's a lot of empty space in this room, like empty shelves, all my books, well, nearly one. There's like 2 books I've still got here, ton of equipment and everything. Another thing is, like, before this kind of medical issue hit, I was ramping up my kind of production speed on the main YouTube channel, and you may have noticed that like we had a couple of weeks where there were like 3 videos put out, and it's because I had set myself a challenge. I like challenges. I like self-assigned challenges. This would be one of them, reaching 100k. That's a challenge. You do it, you feel satisfied. It's quite empowering. But the next challenge I was going to give myself was doing a 5 video week on the main channel. Now I could put like 5 trash videos up, but I mean like a 5 good video week, like videos up to my standards, things I would usually release on the channel. And actually achieving that is really, really difficult. If anyone has made tutorial content before, you probably have like a fair understanding of what kind of effort it takes. Like the planning and preparation that goes into a lot of these videos is actually quite high. And also when you're making videos for an audience, if you need to understand what the audience wants, if you want to kind of optimize it for watch time, if you want to actually put content out that makes you grow, etc. There's so many considerations. So doing a 5 video week just by myself, like no editing help whatsoever, just me recording, editing, doing all the publishing, the admin, the thumbnails, all that detail. 5 videos, all myself. Is it possible? 3 was my best. I could do 3 per week, but even that required a lot of these workflow improvements. I came up with new techniques for doing the videos, and I made lots and lots of notes on it, and I'm almost thinking about considering them as trade secrets, because I thought I was kind of at my limit with 1 video a week, but then after a few little mental tricks and some new ways of organizing things, I tripled the output. Managed to do that. I'm quite proud of that by itself. So there were 2 weeks where we hit 3 videos, and I was like, okay, this is a good test. This is a good test run for those techniques. So can we push it? Can we do the 5 video week next? And then all of a sudden, throat problem. So just to explain that a bit more, basically when I talk for too long, it doesn't even have to be too long. There's lots of variables. When I use too lower pitches, I get like a sharp pain. And it's not where you would think exactly. It's not like right on the voice box. It's kind of like up to the right. Usually worse in the second half of the day, not necessarily. And I found something that I thought it was, but we're a bit unsure about that at the moment. But anyway, too many details. Anyway, yes, thank you for joining me on my test. I miss making videos. I miss sitting and recording. I really the work gets stressful sometimes when you're dealing with like so many numbers and so much pressure being put on yourself. But I have that kind of personality, which is where, if I'm not doing something productive, I go insane. And I actually do kind of secretly, and I say secretly because maybe I don't believe it all the time, I do kind of enjoy the process a bit. There's a lot of it I don't enjoy. I don't actively seek out, like the preparation for videos and the editing, things on the both sides of the recording. The recordings are usually okay, but when I don't do it for a while and you're kind of sitting back going, yeah, I kind of miss it. So yeah, my throat has surprisingly held up pretty well for this video. I did actually try recording another one a few days ago when I was feeling a bit bad about it again, but it did not hold up as well then, and I had to stop early. But thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe. Oh, I can put this on now. Aha, yes, because I can press the button. Make sure to watch videos on the main channel. Maybe sign up to the Patreon. I'm so proud of this little stream deck. And you can also, check out our stuff on the store page. So thanks everyone. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.